Scott Radley Show here on 900 CHML. We are chatting with John Best, and we will have more time because it's a few weeks at least of budget negotiations. It could be longer, but a few weeks of budget negotiations that we will be able to talk about and see whether the city does in fact make any cuts, City Hall, and whether or not they find savings or whether or not they add, which is a possibility too. But today, John, there was a move to try and protect residents, protect renters, protect tenants from renovictions and other things. This is one that there was pretty much unanimity around the table, which doesn't always happen, but there was a pretty strong show of unanimity on these particular moves.
Yeah, there was, Scott. They were in a very self-congratulatory mood, and just about everybody agreed with it. They've really passed two bills. One is to force landlords who issue what they call an N13. So that's the notice that you give a tenant when you want them to vacate the property so you can fix it up. And that's what is now called renovictions. That one doesn't probably have the kind of teeth that people were hoping. Basically, it will force the landlord to take out a building permit to do the renovations within 7 days of issuing the statement. And there's some other stuff about informing the tenants of their rights, but there's not much. They can't materialize apartments out of thin air, and especially at the rates they were paying. The other one is a licensing program that will force landlords of any size to get a license, which will provide some revenue for the city, but it'll also allow the city to, knock on doors and actually inspect properties and make sure that they're safe and suitable for living. But as I sat there and watched them, sort of congratulating each other, I just couldn't help think about the fact of how many of them have played such a significant role in this gold rush, this LRT gold rush, that has destroyed so much of the affordable housing in wards 1 through 5. For years, I lived in Ward 3 for many, many years, and I don't think apartment rents went up more than 10% in 10 years. It was only after the LRT, when they actually put some money to the LRT, that suddenly you had all this renovictions and rents doubling, and that's all happened in the last literally 3.5 years.
The laws of unintended consequences, because the LRT, one of the big selling features was this is going to create all this affordable housing for people. That was one of the main points of this.
Yeah, and if you look at this housing crisis, which is really serious, and you look at the financial crisis with the city, this is total blasphemy to some ears, but I think it's time to get serious about a plan B with LRT. And what I'm thinking of is a theme that I've hit on before, Scott, which is bus rapid transit. London, Ontario, right now, we're getting 14 kilometers, we think, for $3.7 billion, but I don't think anybody believes it's going to end up at that. London is getting 30 kilometers of bus rapid transit for $381 million. So the thought I had was, what if we went back to Doug Ford and said, look, we're here to help you. Instead of giving us $1.7 billion, why don't you give us the $1 billion that you said we could use if we didn't want LRT? And why don't we go to Trudeau with a similar offer and say, look, you guys matched the province. How about matching that? That would give us $2 billion. And then let's do a really robust BRT, higher order transit. There's an Institute for Transportation Development in the States says, frankly, it doesn't make much difference whether it's BRT or LRT. If it's economic uplift you're looking at, if it's development, you're still going to get it. There was a Cleveland line, Euclid, between Cleveland and Euclid, straight BRT, and it created $5.8 billion in development. So why not look at something like that? Do I think it'll happen? No.
That was going to be my next question, John. Do you think that there's any chance that after all of this, that some councillors would even remotely entertain it. I would be very hard-pressed to imagine that.
Well, I don't think. What I'm thinking, though, is that we, as the situation sort of unfolds further, we don't know where we're going on the fiscal front. We don't know whether the province and the feds, frankly, are going to be able to come through with their end of the deal. The project in Hamilton seems to have stagnated. There's not a move towards any kind of procurement yet. We've talked about that before. All I'm saying is that, there is actually an opportunity here to make a major transit improvement and with some skill. And I'm not, this city is not in the best odor with either senior government, quite frankly. We've got a council that wants the RCMP to investigate the housing minister at the same time as they're down there asking him for money. So, there's still a lot of balls in the air, and I think if there was some creativity, we might be able to come up with a solution here that would really make a difference in Hamilton.
We only have a minute, but there's one other thing that I might suggest that would be even easier than that as we're getting back, because you brought that up as stemming from the housing issue. We had an example very recently of an apartment building that a builder wanted to build, and it was a lack of trees, among other things, that had that one shot down. Maybe we don't need to have perfection right now. We simply need to have units.
Well, I agree. And in the case of that unit, they were looking at a picture that he supplied, but I talked to the proponents, and they admitted, look, that was just something we pulled out of a catalog. Of course, the design and some of these other issues were still open for negotiation, but they were kind of treated like they were crooks.
Yeah, no, it's that one. Again, I understand that it would be lovely that everything always would be perfect, but you've used the word that how serious it is, and it is a crisis with housing. And to me, not everyone's going to agree, but to me, John, any opportunity to get housing built that would be available to people at reasonable rates, I don't care if you want to paint the thing pink and polka dotted, just build it. We'll figure out the details later. We can try and make it better later, but get the units built. That seems that's the simplest thing in the world to me.
Drop the ideology and sit down with the people that can make it happen.
It's 100%. I agree with you 100%. That is John Best. If you want to read more about this tenant protection measure, John has a great piece right now at the Bay Observer, bayobserver.ca. You can get more about that there. These negotiations at council, I don't know if that's the right word, negotiation talks, discussions, budget meetings, they go on for days and days and days. We'll have lots of talk about that and what they do or don't do with savings and otherwise later on. John Best, thank you for doing this.
My pleasure.
Quick break here on the Scott Radley Show. When we come back,